Emotional attachment is not just a feeling that happens randomly or magically. It is a deeply rooted psychological and biological process shaped by evolution, brain chemistry, early life experiences, and ongoing social interactions. At its core, emotional attachment exists because humans are social beings. From the moment we are born, survival depends on forming bonds. A newborn cannot survive without care, so the brain is wired to seek closeness, safety, and connection. This wiring does not disappear with age. It evolves. As we grow, the same systems that once bonded us to caregivers begin to shape how we connect with friends, partners, and even ideas or places. The foundation of emotional attachment lies in the brain. Several key areas play a role, including the limbic system, which governs emotions, memory, and motivation. When we form an attachment, the brain links a person with feelings of comfort, reward, and safety. Over time, simply thinking about or seeing that person can activate these same emotional circuits. This is why attachments can feel automatic and sometimes uncontrollable. You are not consciously deciding to feel attached. Your brain has learned that this connection matters. Neurochemicals are central to this process. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, is released during close physical or emotional interactions, such as hugging, deep conversation, or shared vulnerability. Oxytocin strengthens trust and reduces fear, making another person feel safe and familiar. Dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, is also involved. When someone makes us feel valued or understood, dopamine reinforces that experience, teaching the brain that this person is rewarding. Over time, the brain begins to crave that reward, which deepens attachment. Serotonin, which regulates mood and emotional stability, also shifts during attachment, influencing how calm or anxious we feel in relationships. Emotional attachment is closely tied to learning and memory. When repeated experiences with a person are associated with comfort, excitement, or relief, the brain stores those associations. This is why attachments grow stronger with time and shared experiences. It is also why emotional attachment does not disappear instantly when a relationship ends. The brain has already learned the pattern. It takes time and new experiences to weaken or replace those neural connections. Early childhood experiences play a powerful role in shaping how emotional attachment develops later in life. Attachment theory, originally proposed by John Bowlby, explains that the bond between a child and their primary caregiver creates a blueprint for future relationships. If a caregiver is consistently responsive and emotionally available, the child often develops a secure attachment. This teaches the brain that closeness is safe and that needs will be met. If care is inconsistent, neglectful, or emotionally unpredictable, the child may develop anxious or avoidant attachment patterns. These patterns are not conscious choices. They are adaptations the brain makes to survive emotionally. Secure attachment tends to create adults who are comfortable with intimacy and independence. Their brains have learned balance. Anxious attachment often leads to heightened sensitivity to rejection, strong fear of abandonment, and intense emotional bonding. The brain in this case becomes hyper-alert to signs of distance because, in early life, connection felt uncertain. Avoidant attachment develops when closeness was associated with discomfort or emotional unavailability. The brain learns to downplay emotional needs as a form of self-protection. These attachment styles show how emotional attachment is less about logic and more about learned emotional survival strategies. Emotional attachment is also influenced by mirror neurons, specialized brain cells that help us understand and feel what others feel. When we observe someone's emotions, our brain subtly mirrors them, creating emotional resonance. This shared emotional experience deepens connection and makes attachment feel natural. Empathy, which relies heavily on mirror neurons, strengthens emotional bonds because it allows people to feel seen and understood. Another important aspect of emotional attachment is predictability. The brain craves patterns because they provide a sense of control and safety. When someone behaves in ways that are familiar, even if those behaviors are imperfect, the brain prefers that familiarity over uncertainty. This is why people sometimes stay emotionally attached to relationships that are unhealthy. The brain values predictability because it reduces anxiety, even when the emotional outcome is painful. In the sensei, attachment is not always about happiness. It is often about emotional certainty. Emotional attachment is also deeply connected to identity. Over time, the brain begins to integrate important relationships into the sense of self. This means that another person's presence becomes part of how you define who you are. When that person is absent or distant, the brain experiences it not just as loss of companionship, but as a disruption of identity. This is why emotional separation can feel disorienting and painful, as if a part of oneself is missing. Stress and emotional vulnerability can intensify attachment. During difficult times, the brain seeks regulation and comfort. If a particular person provides emotional relief, the attachment deepens rapidly. This is known as stress bonding. The brain learns that this person reduces emotional discomfort, making the bond feel stronger than it might otherwise be. This mechanism explains why people often become emotionally attached during crises or emotionally intense periods. Time and repetition are crucial in emotional attachment. The brain changes through a process called neuroplasticity, meaning repeated emotional experiences strengthen specific neural pathways. The more often a person is associated with emotional significance, the stronger the attachment becomes. This is why attachment grows gradually, and why sudden emotional disconnection feels unnatural to the brain. Fear also plays a role in attachment. The fear of loss activates the same brain regions involved in physical pain. Studies show that social rejection or emotional separation can activate the anterior cingulate cortex, an area linked to pain processing. This overlap explains why emotional pain feels so real and intense. From an evolutionary perspective, separation from the group once meant danger. The brain still carries this ancient alarm system. Emotional attachment is not limited to romantic relationships. It applies to friendships, family bonds, mentors, and even pets. The brain uses similar mechanisms for all meaningful bonds. What changes is the context and intensity. Romantic attachment often involves higher levels of dopamine and oxytocin, making it feel more consuming, while friendships may rely more on emotional consistency and shared values. Modern life has added new layers to emotional attachment. Social media, constant communication, and digital presence keep attachment systems activated more frequently. Seeing someone's name, message, or photo can trigger emotional responses similar to in-person interaction. This constant stimulation can strengthen attachment faster, but it can also make detachment more difficult because the brain is repeatedly reminded of the bond. Emotional attachment can become unhealthy when it overrides self-regulation and emotional balance. When the brain relies excessively on one person for emotional stability, it can lead to dependency. This does not mean attachment itself is bad. It means the regulatory system has become unbalanced. Healthy attachment allows closeness without losing autonomy. The brain is capable of learning this balance, but it often requires self-awareness and new emotional experiences. Detachment, like attachment, is a process, not a decision. The brain must gradually unlearn old associations and form new ones. This is why time, distance, and emotional processing are necessary for healing. Suppressing emotions does not erase attachment. It only delays the brain's adjustment. Emotional processing allows the brain to rewire itself. Emotional attachment also explains why memories tied to people feel so vivid. The brain stores emotionally charged memories more strongly than neutral ones. When attachment is present, everyday moments become emotionally significant, making them easier to recall. This is why certain songs, places, or smells can instantly bring back feelings associated with a specific person. Understanding the science behind emotional attachment does not make emotions disappear, but it can make them less confusing. It reveals that attachment is not weakness or irrationality. It is a natural outcome of how the human brain is designed. The same systems that allow love, trust, and connection also make loss and separation painful. This duality is part of being human. Ultimately, emotional attachment exists to help humans survive, connect, and grow. It motivates care, cooperation, and emotional bonding. While it can sometimes lead to pain, it is also the foundation of meaningful relationships. The science shows that attachment is not something to fear or fight, but something to understand. When understood, it becomes easier to navigate emotions with compassion for oneself and others, recognizing that behind every strong attachment is a brain doing exactly what it evolved to do: seek connection, safety, and meaning.